like I wanted to today anyway. So um, now if I can just find it in all my pictures. You guys, I do way too much stuff and have way too much on the phone at any given time. There it is. Perfect. Okay. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Although this week I'm addressing heart disease and blood pressure, I want to make sure that everybody knows that all of these things above are linked to insulin resistance, and it's really important to understand what insulin resistance is and why it is and how we can get over it, and that it doesn't take drugs to do all of that. So we're going to go over all of those things. Forgive my finger. I dipped it in my super greens and apparently did not rinse it off. So super greens. Um, so we're going to go over what insulin resistance is, what causes it. We're going to go over some of these things and how they're linked as whatever you guys need to hear. Although I'm on the Heart Health Week, I want to address what you guys need, and then we're going to go over some solutions. So, good morning, Bernadette. Um, all right, so someone on my live asked yesterday, is endometriosis linked to insulin resistance? So I had a very brief, yesterday was such a busy day for me, but I had a brief moment to look up some information on that, and it makes sense to me. Let's stop real quick. We'll get into the insulin resistance, but I got to get this off my chest. Good morning, Melba. When I started thinking about it as I'm doing the research, so I both had PCOS and endometriosis in my 20s, and actually had surgery because of it. So it made sense to me that there might be a link. How did I have both of those things? And we now know I was insulin resistant probably since about the time I had head trauma in my teen years. But yes, scientists have not like narrowed it down specifically yet, but they are finding big links between endometriosis and uh, insulin resistance. So whether it's just causing inflammation and pain to be worse, whether it's just causing the endometriosis to be worse than it already was, or, they're looking at, does it actually start to cause some of it? They don't have those answers yet, but there is a link. That's all I can tell you right now. All right, so insulin resistance, you guys, it's this thing, like, I get crazy about it because knowing this information, I feel like saved my life. You're very, very welcome. That was you, Bernadette? So yeah, that's what I could find, and you're very, very welcome. I love answering questions when I can, and helping out, because let's go there. When 2.5 years ago, when I started this journey, I was just so sick. I had basically given up on life, which is not me, but I was in so much pain, and I just couldn't seem to get life under control physically, and my brain was falling apart, and I just thought that I was over. So, and Sarah, her question yesterday was about, is insulin resistance linked to endometriosis? We talked yesterday a bit about PCOS and how that's linked to insulin resistance, or how insulin resistance causes it. We need to understand that with the rise of insulin resistance, the rise of a number of these things have been occurring as well. Many of them have doubled, tripled, gone 10x in one lifetime. Genetics don't change that quickly. So if it's not genetics that's changing all of this stuff that's happening, what is happening? And what we know is that our food has been changed that much, that drastically in one lifetime. It's been changed drastically in my lifetime. And look, now they're talking about printing our food with these 3D printers. It feels like the Jetsons, right? Anybody know the Jetsons? You guys remember them? But it just totally feels like we're in a Jetsons age. So then what happens? Are they going to pay attention to making sure that we have enzymes? And can they print enzymes? I don't believe so. Can they print the things that we need, the living substances we need to nourish our food, our bodies? It's just like crazy to me. So our food has been manufactured and modified, and that's what's making us sick. Bottom line. All right. That's why we have this instance of all of these things happening at a greater and greater and greater rate every year. Why we see morbid obesity more than we've ever seen. I mean, there's that in our lifestyle, right? We used to, when I grew up, shoot, we walked everywhere. We were kicked out of the house. Yes, we were those kids, but we lived in the country and we played out in the yard all day. No TV, no cell phones, no none of that. So we had 5 acres and a wooded lot out in the middle of North Idaho, and we would go play in those woods every day. Do kids do anything like that now? No. What are they doing? They're playing video games and all of that. So yes, that contributes as well. So physical activity, I'm going to go over 6 simple tips you can to reverse your insulin resistance, because I reversed mine. I reversed diabetes type 2, reversed my hypertension, my sleep apnea. In fact, I didn't get to bed till about midnight last night, and I was worried. And I actually just woke up about an hour ago and was like, oh, you got to get up and go. But I slept. Now, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have done that. So let's back up the truck and talk about insulin resistance. In the meantime, take a look at the list up there. If any of those things are bothering you, if you're suffering from those things, not getting help, type it in the chat box, because then I want to go over it in a little bit. So insulin resistance is this disorder that is caused by the food that we eat. So we're taking food in too often. We're eating food that's imperfect, and it's not your fault, right? You're being marketed this way. You're being told to snack. You're being told to have all of these foods. We're given foods. Even the raw organic foods have been changed and stripped of these things. It's not just boxed, bagged, canned, whatever. Your raw organic food is no longer the same either. So when we eat this often, when we have food that converts so quickly in our system, what I mean is it's been stripped of fibers and nutrients. Tired and no energy is very common with insulin resistance. I have a story about that. But when that's all stripped out, what's happening is now our body is converting our food into glucose or energy far too quickly. And this system happens in our body. We eat. That's really raw energy for our body. Our body starts to break down what we eat into that energy. It's supposed to do like a time release where it takes time for that energy to go out so it's sustained. But in today's world, the energy is just like going boom right into your system. Now you have this spike of glucose because that's what translates in the body. Breaks down your proteins, your food, everything you ate into glucose, gets it into the bloodstream. The bloodstream says, oh, there's more than 1 teaspoon of glucose in my bloodstream. We got to have help to get this out there. Cues your pancreas to produce insulin, a hormone that's meant to carry that energy to all the cells of the body. I did a video last night, and we equated insulin to like a traffic cop. So if your body is a city with all of these alleyways and streets and all of this stuff, insulin is a traffic cop telling sugar where to go, what buildings to go into, where it's needed. But when we are having insulin so high all the time, those buildings start to lock their doors and they say, we don't want any more sugar. We're full to capacity. We can't take any more. And they just stop listening to insulin. Now it becomes insulin resistance. Again, started with eating every 2 hours, started with eating foods that are modified, not your fault, started with all of that, ends up in this system where your body just does not even recognize or take up the energy that you're eating because it's too much, it's overwhelmed. Then when that happens and the cells are no longer taking up all of this energy, insulin still has a job to do and you're continuing to eat. So insulin goes into overdrive and it's like, I have to get rid of this because they're eating again here soon, or they just ate again and now there's more sugar and I got to get this out of the system. Then it starts depositing it in the warehouse of the body. And does everybody know what the warehouse or the storage unit of the body is? Because I think we all have it. It's our fat cells. So if we think about our fat cells as a storage unit, like anything that we're not using right now goes in the storage unit, right? That's what happens with insulin. That's when you start putting on weight. It's not that you put on weight and then you have high levels of insulin. You have high levels of insulin and you put on weight because of it. So storage unit. Now the storage unit gets full. You've bought too much stuff. You've eaten too much energy. Insulin's like trying to take all the stuff to the storage unit, but the storage unit is full. So now what happens? Well, either you have to get another storage unit, which can happen, or the storage unit says, nope, we're full. You can't afford another storage unit. We're just going to, all that stuff is just going to sit out in the street or in the bloodstream. And now it's starting to clog up the bloodstream with sugar. So I said, sometimes you buy an extra storage unit, right? So let's talk about fat cells really quick, because like I was pretty obese at 270. I'm now about 215. So I've lost a little over 50 pounds. My beautiful friend here has lost 50 pounds. Now this one has lost 120 pounds. So how did she get so big? And she wasn't even diabetic or insulin resistant, and yet we were. Remember the storage unit. So some people will actually replicate fat cells. So you have two types of fat cells, and this is genetic. So some people are hypertrophic, meaning their fat cells just fill up to capacity. Some people are hyperplastic. The fat cells start to fill up and they're like, oh, no more room. Let's get another storage unit, another fat cell. Oh, no more room. Let's get another storage unit, another fat cell. And so their fat cells are replicating until they're like, oh, we have so many storage units, we just can't do this anymore. Now, whether you're hypertrophic, storing a little less fat, because there are some people way leaner than me who have become diabetic, or hyperplastic, making more fat cells. When the fat cells are full to capacity, now that sugar that's going in them starts getting spilled back out. Now you have high blood sugar, and you have high A1C, and you're starting to see changes in your lipids. And now your doctor goes, you're pre-diabetic, you're diabetic, we got to take care of this. When this has been going on for a long time for most of you. I hope that makes sense. So that's how we go from too much food, too often, to high levels of insulin, to insulin resistance, to things like diabetes type 2. And along the way, we're starting to pick up all of these disorders here, like excess weight, bloating, low energy, diabetes, PCOS, erectile dysfunction, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, thyroid problems, migraines, acid reflux, sleep apnea, acne, skin takes, dark skin patches, muscle loss, arthritis, depression, anxiety, fatigue, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's symptoms, gout, kidney issues, all of it. And there's even more. So Dr. Bickman and a number of other metabolic doctors would say that if it's not viral and it's not wholly genetic, that it's lifestyle related, in which all of these are, then it's derived from insulin. Okay. So that's the biggest understanding we can have. Now, again, our insulin is going up because of the food. The one main thing, and I called it a superhero last night because it is. The one nutrient that we're not getting enough of, the one nutrient that they've been stripped out of our food, that is the superhero that can save us from all of this, is fiber. So look, when they stripped out fiber to make your food sweeter, to make it juicier, to make it more tender, to make it bigger, then it also stopped the ability for your body to slow down those sugars that are hitting your system. Carbohydrates should always be paired with fiber. Fiber is what regulates your carbohydrates. And I want to talk about this for just a second because it gets so misunderstood by people. When we talk about carbohydrates, how many of you guys are thinking bread, pasta, candies, maybe potatoes, but that's what you think of as carbohydrates? Is that type of one in if that's what you think carbohydrates are? Are those breads, pastas, rice, potatoes? Potato chips, those are carbohydrates too. You used to say one. Good job, good job. So would you guys be surprised to understand when we look at macros, what we're doing is there are 3 macros in the food. There's protein, there's fats, and there's carbohydrates. Okay. So what I always tell people is if it's not a protein and it's not a fat, then it is a carbohydrate. So yes, veggies are carbs. Fruits are carbs. Okay. You guys got to understand that when we talk about carb overload, it's not just, oh, they ate a lot of pasta. Oh, they had donuts. Oh, they had ice cream. Oh, they ate way too many white potatoes. Oh, they should cut back on the rice. I want you to understand that there are certain vegetables and fruits that convert into sugar way quicker than others. That's called high glycemic. There are other fruits and vegetables, like your dark leafy green vegetables, that convert into sugar far less. So yeah, broccoli, green beans, spinach, kale, all of those things that people are so on fire for, is because they're higher in fiber. They convert into sugar in the system less rapidly than other foods, but they still do convert into sugar. Okay. So things like corn and peas and even the bell peppers. I love bell peppers. I eat them like an apple, wash them up and just, I don't even cut them up. I just eat them. Those are higher glycemic than things like the ones I just mentioned earlier. So understand that all of those things, even when you think you're doing the healthy thing, you're still loading your body up with carbs and nuts. I get this question all the time. How many people think, well, if I just have a handful of nuts between my meal, I'm okay? Well, nuts, like almonds, generally have the highest protein, but I didn't take time to read it. There's a new something out about almonds. But they're higher in protein, lower in carbohydrates. Something like cashews are higher in carbohydrates, lower in protein. So, right, right, Kimberly, you're right. And calories are energy. Okay. Calories are energy. Energy is what in the system? For the most part, it's glucose in the system. What overloads our system and creates too much insulin? Glucose does. Okay. So I think you're on track, Kimberly. Love it, love it, love it, love it. So you guys understand that fats, proteins, and carbohydrates are the three foods we're going to look at. So when we're talking carbs, remember, if it's not a fat and it's not a protein, then it is a carbohydrate. So fiber needs to come with your carbohydrates to slow that down. Fat needs to come with proteins. If anybody wants to know why we have to have fat with proteins, type a 2 in. I'll go over that in a minute. But understand that. So really what we have is unmediated carbs. We have carbs that are um, like you dropped a whole school of 3-year-olds in a china shop. That's what happens when we have carbs that don't have fiber. So if you can think about what happens when 3-year-olds, when a whole pile of 3-year-olds would be left into a china shop, and even if they're said, you tell a 3-year-old don't touch something, pretty soon it gets out of hand, things are getting broken, the china shop is eventually destroyed. It's what's happening inside our bodies. Okay. So fiber is the key, and we're going to go over the 6 simple tips. All right. And then anybody have questions about any of these in the meantime, we're going to go over that as well. So 2, why fats and protein? We now know fiber is part of what slows down our carbohydrates, right? So that we're getting more of an even level of energy instead of just these spikes and dips, spikes and dips. Now, protein and fats. Fats have been so demonized ever since Ansel Keys came out and said fats are causing heart disease, fats are making us fat. All of that's a lie. It's not true. Now, what is causing inflammation, insulin resistance, excess fat are the highly processed fats, things like cottonseed oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, all of those oils that you can find in a light bottle, in a plastic bottle on the shelf in the grocery store. Those don't oxidize very quickly, but they cause a lot of inflammation in the system. In my children's house and in my house, ever since Mama learned all this stuff, hey, thanks, world famous, Ivan. So let's see. So when we talk about oils, what I want you guys to start thinking about is if you can't squeeze it and get oil out of it, it's probably not an oil meant for you. Now, when we make peanut butter, yeah, you can get some oil out of that, right? So there's that. But the oils I want you to focus on are things like extra virgin olive oil. Make sure that extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil come in a dark green or brown bottle. It's trying to shield the oil from the light, and it should be a glass bottle because plastic will oxidize those. The oxidation of those is going to cause some problems. So a good oil gone bad is still a bad oil. And by the way, olive oil and avocado oil, once you open it, is probably only good for 3 months. If you've had that bottle sitting in there for 6 or 9 months, probably time to replace it. Okay. You don't need a lot of it. Buy a smaller bottle. Spend the money on your health and get the real oil. Then we're going to look at coconut oil. Coconut oil has a lot of antibacterial properties in it. It just has some really great properties to it. By the way, the MCT oils that everybody's in love with come from coconut oil. Okay. Yeah. I've seen it. I've seen bottles with like dust on them because they're using other oils that are not good. They bought the olive oil because they thought they were doing something healthy, and then yep, it sits there. So and then butter and ghee, guys. The thing that I cook in the most, this is my choice, is just straight 100% whole milk butter with just a little bit of salt in it. So I do check the labels even on my butter, because even on your butter, if you look at the labels, some of them have additives of these other oils to make the butter cheaper. Okay. So if you have high amounts of MCT oil, it actually can be like a laxative. But is it a bad thing? Because most people are not going to the bathroom enough. And all of that waste sitting in your gut is causing disease and disorder. Think about it. If you had a bag of garbage sitting out in your living room for 3 days, it would get kind of stinky. You probably get some flies, maybe some maggots. It would get kind of gross, right? But yet we don't think anything about having all of that waste sitting in our intestines for that long, not moving and not doing its thing. All right, so back to the oils. Avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, MCTs, but ghee, and then stop cutting the fat off of your meats. Stop taking the yolks out of your eggs. There's a big issue with cholesterol. I think Friday I come out with a video on cholesterol, and we're going to talk about, or did I just do that last night? Who knows what I did? I lose track. But cholesterol is really the cholesterol inside of you that's causing problem. The majority of it is not coming from fat. It comes from the sugar we're eating. Coconut oil does taste different. It does. So it will change the flavor of things. I like to use coconut oil when I'm not cooking at a higher heat, which we shouldn't be cooking at high heats anyway. I will saute chicken in it. If I'm adding other things to it, I will use coconut oil. I like the taste of coconut oil, but I also love the taste of butter. So, yeah, butter goes on my potatoes. But yeah, we need to stop frying so much food anyway, you guys. But yeah, those are the oils. Look, there's an ebook. I am a little distracted today because I'm leaving to go see my grandchildren tomorrow morning. So I have an ebook. Go to my link. I will drop the link in over here. Good morning, David. Thanks for the comment. But and it's free, you guys. It's called The 6 Simple Steps. We're going to go over those now. Okay. So fats. Oh, we were talking about fats and why they've got to be paired with protein. See, ADD is kicking in. All right. Fats and protein. We already went over fiber and carbohydrates. Fats and protein. Protein, by the way, I'm going to talk about what happens when you get too much protein too. But you need to get enough protein so that your body can build lean muscle and just function properly. And understand, when I talk about muscle, we all start to think about the skeletal muscle, the stuff that's moving us around. But I think we all start to forget that things like our heart, our kidneys, our liver, our stomach are all muscle. They're muscle. They're a different type of muscle than the skeletal muscle. So when I talk about us needing protein for muscle, I want you guys to stop thinking about, I don't want to look jacked. Start thinking about all the organs that are keeping you alive. That's where protein goes to. Okay. All right. So, but when we look at a muscle cell, and if you're carnivorous and you cut like a steak open and you see this marbling in the steak, that little fat that's all through the steak. Well, what happens is we have that too. So our muscle cells are covered in this light layer, and you can see it when you look at a muscle. And you guys know what that layer that's containing that muscle is made of. And this is why we have things like rhabdomyolysis, where people, their muscles explode and they now have this huge pocket of muscle floating in their body because that membrane around the muscle got damaged or broken. So what that membrane is made up of is fat. So when you do a high protein diet, low fat, and you're adding things in like creatine to pump in water into your muscle, that membrane is getting thinner and more fragile, and the muscle's getting bigger, and eventually, just like a plastic bag, is going to burst. So you always want to have fat with your proteins, because as you're adding proteins in, it helps your body metabolize the protein, and it also protects the muscle cell from breaking through the membrane and causing problems. That membrane is built of fat. Now, somebody asked yesterday too, I'm going to go back to carbohydrates. Do you guys know, I just kind of gave it away. Do you guys know what your brain runs on? What does your brain need to function properly? And this is going to kind of go counterintuitive to everything I talk about. Does anybody know what that is that our brain must have to function properly? Okay. Well, would you guys be really shocked to know that it's glucose? Your brain is made of cholesterol, but it functions on glucose. So if I'm talking about insulin resistance, and I just said that sugar is the devil causing insulin resistance, yep, carbs turn into glucose, and that's exactly what our brain needs. So we have brain fog, we have depression, we have anxiety. And why is that? Because we're not getting glucose to the brain. So glucose in the brain is what's fueling you and helping you think clearly and all of that. Hunger can be derived from the fact that your brain is perceiving that it needs energy because it's not getting glucose up there. Your brain is becoming insulin resistant at the same time as the rest of your body. We got to stop like thinking that we're all zombies and our head is just disconnected from our body. Our head is very much integral to our body. So whatever's happening down here is probably happening up here. Okay. So if the brain is insulin resistant, what that really means is that we have all these cells that are like, I need energy because I got all this thinking to do. I've got all this reasoning to do. I have to control my emotions. I have all this stuff going on and I need energy. But you have insulin receptors in the brain. And insulin is coming along. And remember, insulin is just delivering your sugar, glucose to your cells. But in the brain, just like in every other cell, when we start to become insulin resistant and the cells start to become inflamed, these little receptors start to kind of dip down, dip down, dip down. And now insulin can't find the receptors, can't get the energy in, or the receptors are just like shut off and they're like not taking the energy in. So now it's not that we don't have insulin in the system, it's that our cells have been overwhelmed and either the inflammation or this thing of I can't take anymore is happening, and now insulin can't get the sugar into the cells. Now, even though you're eating a lot of sugar, you're not getting it to your brain. Brain fog, anxiety, depression, Parkinson's symptoms, autism can be affected by this, and Alzheimer's. Okay. Okay. Quick fit. Amazing, Hen in the Woods. Amazing. I am not that like, I probably would do much better. We have brain fog is still bad. So, Hen in the Woods, let's talk about. I don't know if you were here earlier when we talked about what carbohydrates are. Yeah, that white stuff that we make cakes and candies are like too much of it is going to cause problems, right? But what we also need to understand is that um, we derive carbohydrates from so many other sources, and it just depends on whether they're high glycemic, meaning no fiber, or low glycemic, meaning there's more fiber in them, how it converts in our system, and you can still have all of these symptoms eating raw organic. So Georgia, keto diet is amazing. I was an athlete for years and I won 4 world championships. I worked out 6 days a week. 3 hours a day. I did keto for over 10 years, probably about 30 grams of carbohydrates a day, except for an occasional carb backloading day. Still had all of this brewing in my system. Okay. Keto can work really amazing, but the issue with keto that I have is that it's not sustainable for most people. I have a really great friend who was a triathlete and he was experiencing the same things as me. And not only that, socially, when we talk about keto, and I'm not bashing keto because I do what I call ketoistic. I have carbs when I want them, but my meals are predominantly, they look more keto. I don't like last night, what did I have? I had a pork chop on oh my gosh, I can't even remember what that was on, and some broccoli and anyway, but not a lot of carbs. Okay, so that was my meal last night. My breakfast yesterday was shrimp and bacon and some green beans. So I eat ketoistic. Now I'm going to go to my family's house tonight. This is why I love the system, because tonight we're having Indian food. We've found Indian food. We love it. So every Wednesday night I go up to visit my grandson. We're gonna have I have 2 types of curry from Wegmans that we're gonna do. I'm gonna stop at the little Indian place and pick up some appetizers. And we're gonna have our Wednesday night family night, and it's gonna be Indian food. So there will be some naan in there. Am I gonna say I don't want that non-culture with the like dried fruits in it, or I don't want the garlic naan with my curry chicken? No, I'm going to have that. The rest of the time I eat ketoistic. But if I was on a keto diet, I wouldn't be able to enjoy these times with my family and with many other people. So my triathlete friend felt the same way. He was like, dude, every time I went places, people were like, I don't know what to feed you. Or he couldn't go because he knew they weren't going to have something. Or people stopped inviting him because they knew they just weren't going to have what he needed. So I love keto, but I want people to understand what I'm talking about. This protocol, the system that I'm going to be talking about makes life sustainable. So you want to do vegan, do vegan. You can still add this in and it's going to help you. You want to be carnivore, do carnivore. You can still add this in. It's going to help gut health. You want to be middle of the road and you want to have Indian food when you want it. You want to have Italian food when you want it. You want to do Mediterranean when you want it. You want to have Mexican food. By the way, tomorrow when I go visit my grandkids, they're half Hispanic. There's a great Mexican place up there in Spokane that I love their food. Just a little mom and pop traditional shop. Can't get that kind of food out here in Maryland, so I'm taking them to that little restaurant tomorrow night. Do I have to worry about counting how many carbs are in there? Nope. I just do the protocol I'm going to talk about. So let me make sure here. All right, Doug, let's deal with that in a second. Joy, your question came in. You're hypothyroid, have had extremely high cholesterol for years, low blood sugar, low blood pressure. Yes. Joy, what I can tell you is this. I'm going to answer Joy's question really quick first. This is the protocol and the eating that I'm going to talk about. The protocol, first off, is based off of real food products. It's not medications. It's not going to cause your blood pressure to dip. Your eating will look different because of your low blood sugar. Remind me later, I will talk about low blood sugar and insulin resistance and how that can happen just as much as high blood sugar and insulin resistance. Not just as much. Maybe 20 or 30% of people will experience that low blood sugar instead of the high blood sugar and still be insulin resistant. So this can help. The protocol I do has a 90-day money back guarantee. So do it for 90 days. It's not going to hurt you. And if you're not getting better and you're not happy with it, you get your money back. That's why I started, because I was just like, I've tried everything else. I'm on 10 different medications, or I was. This is me thinking back then. And I don't want to live like this, so I'm going to give it a shot. And what the hell, if it doesn't work, I get my money back. And it worked. And here I am 2 years later, because all of these health issues, I had almost all of those, are gone for me. So high blood pressure, Let's talk about that. High fasted glucose, high cholesterol, high LDL, high trade. Oh, so Doug, that's a perfect picture of insulin resistance. I'll go over that in a second. Uh, which part? I didn't see your message. So what are you wanting me to talk about, Watson? That's the missing piece of the puzzle for you. Tell me what that missing piece is that I was mentioning just a minute ago that you need to hear. So Doug, let's talk about the is it the low blood sugar? Okay, so high blood pressure, high fasted glucose, high cholesterol. So this week, Doug, watch my videos this week. I'm going over more in depth, or I can go over them more scientifically. Maybe I'll go back and do that. But I'm going over 5 ways that insulin resistance is causing your blood sugar to go, or your blood pressure to go high. Your high fasted glucose just means you've had insulin coursing around your veins and it can no longer drop off the glucose in your cells. So when you're fasting, what means is that you're still having sugar in the system because insulin hasn't been able to deliver it because you've had too much insulin too long. High cholesterol is your body is converting some of these sugars into cholesterol, and it's more about in the LDL. Your LDL being high is about but more than the high LDL. You guys get a pen and paper. I'm going to give you a calculation. I'll do the calculation in a video later this week as well. There's a calculation that has everything to do with LDL, but LDL is not part of the calculation. But it also tells you your risk of heart disease. It also tells you your risk of insulin resistance. So with insulin resistance, part of what's happening with all this excess insulin in the system, your LDL actually comes in 2 types, type A and type B. Type A is big and buoyant. Think of like a beach ball. Type B is small and very dense. Think of a golf ball. Now, if we took both of those balls and dropped them in a pool, the golf ball is going to sink. And if you keep dropping golf balls in there, they're going to sink and it's going to change the shape of the pool. That's what's happening. With LDL, the body is cueing more of the small LDL molecule. That's sticking to the sides of your blood vessels and causing this clogged up arteries and high cholesterol because it's not moving through the system. It's all derived from insulin. I'm going to go over that more in detail later this week. Triglycerides are high, similar thing. You guys, the fats are coming from sugars more than they're coming from fats. I really hate when people say stop cooking in fats and whatnot because your brain needs it, your body needs it. And fats, by the way, don't spike your insulin, the fats I talk about. Okay. So I love coconut oil, but there's a fat that I kind of think is a perfect fat. If you guys, and so I'm going to rename them and then you guys tell me which one you think it is. Because I said olive oil, I said avocado oil or avocados, coconut oil, butter, ghee, and then the animal fats and the egg yolks. By the way, egg yolks have the most protein in the egg. You take the egg yolk out and the whites, there's not a lot of protein in there. So you stop doing the egg whites. Good morning, Lori. High cholesterol, cortisol. Yes, I will. Let me write that down. Because otherwise I get way off track. All right, so we were talking about all of this stuff with your high blood pressure. I'm going to really quickly, the things I'm going to talk about this week, high blood pressure. Insulin makes your cells inside the vessel walls go crazy. It's called the endothelium. And instead of being a thin layer, a healthy layer, they start to take up too much of this energy. And so they start to thicken up and they're producing too many. So what happens is you have a space like this. Now the inner wall is getting thicker, so you have a smaller space. Think about it. Same water, same blood going through this space, now being forced through this space because the endothelium has thickened. That's way number 1. Way number 2, there's this thing called nitric oxide in our body that helps our blood vessels open up. And in the presence of insulin resistance, the body can't produce enough of that. So now the blood vessels won't open up. Number 3, when the body's resistant to insulin, it causes problems with a hormone called aldosterone. Aldosterone tells our body how much water and salt to hang on to. And when we're not getting rid of salt in the body and the kidneys aren't getting rid of it, water goes with salt. So salt is not getting excreted. This is why they say watch your salt, when we really should be addressing watch your sugar. And then that's increasing the water in your blood, again, increasing the volume and the pressure through this now narrowed our blood vessel. Sorry. Another way is it causes you to be, and the cortisol ties in here, in a slight state of fight or flight all the time. Now, normally that opens up, that helps send out the cues for nitric oxide. So your blood vessels open up so that the blood vessels, the blood can go through, but it's also increasing your heart rate because your body's got to get that blood pumping. But now your heart rate is slightly elevated all the time. And that's causing excess pressure because you have veins that don't want to open up. You have veins that are too thick. You have veins that are just rigid and can't do anything. And then now we start adding in this cholesterol problem. Now the veins are getting clogged up with another substance, and boom, you have high blood pressure that you can't control. Statins aren't helping it. Other medications aren't helping it. Statins actually are being, there's more and more reports out showing how statins actually increase insulin resistance and increase your blood pressure over time. That's why you have to keep taking more and more of it. So quick energy on that. I can talk about brain fog later. Let's get to some of these other things. I hope that helps. So get control of the sugar and the insulin, and we're going to talk about that. And then all these other things start to get better. Address high cholesterol or high cortisol. Cholesterol is 232, LDL is 152. So what you want to do, Doug, is take your, and everybody write this down. So take that triglyceride number. I can't do it because my phone, my calculator is on my phone. So take that triglyceride number of 170 and divide it by your HDL of 40. And the number that you should get should be less than 1.5. So triglycerides divided by HDL, and I can already tell that it's going to be different than that, right? It's going to be over 1.5 for you. We can all look and see that right off the bat. That resulting number tells you your risk for heart disease. The higher that number is, the higher your risk. It also tells you your risk for insulin resistance. The higher the number, the higher the risk. 1.5 and below is baseline where we want you to be, and that's healthy. Midline is like 1.5 to 3. Now you're kind of having troubles and you should pay attention to it. 3 and above, you need to start paying attention. Okay, so that's the calculation. I'm going to be doing another video on that this week. But if you missed it, look for that video. If you didn't, just write it down. Go find your labs and do that calculation. All right, so high cortisol. So many things with insulin are like a two-way street. So some things increase insulin, insulin increases some things. Cortisol is one of these things. So when you have high cortisol levels, it actually makes you more insulin resistant. The more insulin resistant you are, the more cortisol you have coursing through your veins because you're in this slight fight or flight mode all the time. So one of the things, it's not in my 6 simple, but it should be, one of the things that you can do to help your insulin resistance is to just get enough sleep. Turn off the electronics, do some meditation when you're feeling stressed, get your brain functioning properly by getting the insulin resistance out of your system. The cortisol levels will start to level out, but they're working against each other. And then we'll talk about dawn phenomenon as well, because that has everything to do with your cortisol. It's not a bad thing. People get confused and they get panicked about their blood sugars being a little high in the morning. And I'm not talking 200 high. I'm not talking 170 high. I'm talking like over 100 high. Like, I'm doing everything right. Why is my blood sugar high? We'll talk about that. But cortisol can actually make your insulin resistance worse because the two play off of each other. And I will do some videos on that in the next week or so too. The low blood sugar with other issues. All right, so low blood sugar. What's happening with low blood sugar is that you sometimes, this is not everyone, some people, what's happening is there's so much insulin in the system that it's delivering this sugar out to the cells. You have some cells that will take up too much of it. So those cells would be like the endothelium in the the heart, or in the blood vessels, sorry. And then skin tags or excess skin cells, and skin discoloration or excess melanin, all pushed by too much insulin. But what's happening with a lot of people, especially with reactive hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, is you're eating sugar, the insulin is doing a really good job of delivering that out, whether it's to these cells that will take it, whether it's to the fat cells, it's dumping off that sugar. So it's just like on hyperdrive, like they're going to eat again, my blood sugar is going to go, high again, I got to get rid of this. So in the exact opposite happens. Now your blood sugar is low because insulin, being the good worker that it is, just like, it's like hiring um an an ADHD house cleaner, they're going to go through and it's going to take them like minutes to get that house clean. But when we get the insulin levels more normalized, that process isn't happening. Your sugar levels are being delivered more evenly. Insulin doesn't feel like it has to get rid of the sugar so quickly, because we've got to understand, you guys, we train our bodies. Our bodies aren't training us. We're training our bodies. So when we eat every 2 hours, when we eat high carbohydrate foods, and what do they tell you when your blood sugar goes low? Now, I'm saying in the absence of genetics or some other issue. I don't know what the issue is. If your doctor hasn't found it, maybe you could take a look at addressing your insulin and see if that helps. But if you're eating sugars all the time and you're eating every 2 hours, your body's like, oh, dude, this person is going to eat every 2 hours. They're going to pump me full of sugar. And now I got to get rid of this. I got to be on hyperdrive all the time. Keep my tanks full because I'm going to be delivering sugar, and we're going to get that out of the system. But then it kind of does too good a job, and it gets your blood sugar low. And now you have this blood sugar crash. So the easiest way to start addressing that is to level them out. Now, this comes back to a little bit to macros in your diet. So remember, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. What's spiking your sugars the highest, and this is what diabetics have been told for years, is go have some orange juice. Go, do those things. Well, when you do orange juice and you do those simple sugars, what's happening is you're spiking your sugar again, and you're proving to your body that you're going to overload it with sugar. And so now you're not helping the system, you're making it worse. So start having more longer acting, lower glycemic carbs so that your blood sugars come up normally, and starts training the insulin that it doesn't have to be on hyperdrive all the time. You may have to eat a little more often, but I don't think you need to eat every 2 hours. You've got to manage your blood sugars. You've got to work with your doctor. Find a doctor who understands insulin and work with them. Because if you're just being told to drink a glass of orange juice, if you're just being told to do all this stuff and you have insulin resistance, you're just making the problem worse. That's if you have low blood sugars and insulin resistance. There are some other things that can cause it, but that's not my wheelhouse. Hydrochlorothiazide, 25 mil, yeah. And so hydrochlorothiazide is just a water pill helping you, trying to help your kidneys. 4.1, Jason, was his try. Yeah, that's huge. That calculation, Doug, that's so, I'm not a fingernail expert, but also understand, and I don't talk about this one as much because I haven't really dove into that, but fingernails being brittle and papery, there's hormones into that, right? There's a whole other realm of things, but insulin resistance can definitely make your fingernails weak. But there are other things that can do that. There are other hormones and things that play, deficiencies and whatnot, that can make your fingernails weak, and that's not really my wheelhouse. Okay. And good morning, Jason. I'm so happy to see you in here. Let's have a talk later and see how everything's going. By the way, your baby is not a baby anymore. That's a moose. His baby is a dog, by the way. All right. Okay, so we've talked about all this stuff. I'm going to go over some more things later about insulin resistance and what it's linked to, because it's important for you guys to understand. But let's do this right now. we've talked about all this stuff. Misha, that's great. I understand now what's happening, and I want you to understand what's happening, because this next piece isn't going to make sense if you don't understand what's going on in your body. So fiber is, it's my new favorite thing. Fiber is a superhero. I did that in the video last night and I just can't get it out of my head. Fiber is a superhero in your body. Why? Because it's regulating those blood sugars and the fats. It's not depleting you of nutrients when you have excess fiber. It's actually just slowing down the specific fibers, slowing down the glucose delivery in your system, so that even when you are eating higher carbohydrate foods, it's not spiking your insulin so much. So 6 simple tips. I'm going to show you that the fiber I take is, and it's not in the canisters. That's one type of fiber or 2 types of fiber, and neither one of those are scientifically designed to help you with this. Okay, fibers can help you poop, fibers can help you clean out, fibers can help build your probiotics in your own system. You don't necessarily have to take excess probiotics. Feed the ones you got by using prebiotics. Fibers can be that. But there are 3 specific fibers that reduce the load of glucose in your system. So what I do, let's just dive into it. The protocol that I do, we're going to stop the eating every 2 hours. So I'm going to do some intermittent fasting. I'm 15 hours into an intermittent fast now. I wake up every day and I have this tea. Everything comes in these little sachets that I use, the protocol I use. So I have this tea in the morning, wakes me up, gives me energy without causing my blood pressure to go high. It gives me mental clarity. Hey, Sarah, it's been a long time, honey. But it also helps shut down my hunger by allowing me to use my own fat for fuel. It's helping kick out ketones. It's not ketones, it just helps them. At this state, my body's kicking out human growth hormone. I'm kicking out ketones. I'm actually having some fat burning. Now my body has energy because I have some fat still, right? So there's plenty of energy on my body. And so I drink this tea, and it's a derivative of a South American plant called yerba mate. But this particular form is 375 times the tea that you'll find in a bagged tea. So I just open this up, mix it in water, drink that down. You don't have to drink it down like right away. You can if you want, but I like to savor mine. I like to sip on it throughout the morning. You can have it hot or cold. So as the weather gets colder, you'll probably see me drink it more hot. Tea in the morning shuts down hunger, gives you energy, gives you mental clarity, stops some of the brain fog and the anxiety in that. It's actually was developed as a mental health tool, but it works synergistically with this next piece. So this is a packet of what I call a pre-meal drink, 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers, phytonutrients, and vitamins and minerals that help with all the stuff we've just been talking about. It's easy. I drink this. This is more water than I usually use. About this much water. This packet goes in. I shake it up, drink it down 10 minutes before I eat. That's it. I don't have to worry about, did I get this food in? Did I get that food in? Oh my gosh, I'm going to my kids' house, or I'm traveling across the nation, and do they have all the stuff I need? I don't worry about it. I just take this with me. The 7 different soluble fibers and soluble and insoluble fibers in there do this. When they get in your gut, they start to thicken up and they create this thick gel matrix. Those other fibers don't do that. And with that, for me, it helps soothe my acidic stomach. It helps make you feel full before you even eat, so you're less likely to overeat now. And then when you do eat, this thick gel matrix from the fiber is going to start coating the food you eat, slowing down how quickly it hits your intestinal tract and how quickly that gets absorbed into the system. So slowing down the delivery of sugars into your system. When you slow down the delivery of sugars, you slow down the spike of insulin, not depriving you of vitamins and minerals, because there's a full panel of vitamins and minerals for your metabolism in that packet. So much more than just a fiber. 20 years of study went into it. Works amazing. So now you're staying fuller longer because it's slowing down the delivery of the food. So you don't have this, oh my God, I'm so stuffed. Unbuckle my pants, but a half an hour later, where's the chips? Because I'm hungry. You don't experience that. Okay. So that's helping with the whole thing. Where you're going to get it is you're just going to go to my profile, tap on that. Let's take a look. I'll show you. I'm getting so many messages. I gotta get ready to go take care of some things. So let's take a look. I actually have, by the way, there are scientific studies for these products, and you can find them at unicityscience.org. If you need that, just message me. Okay, so we're going to take a look. Click on my profile picture up top. When you get there, it's going to bring up a box on the bottom. Click on that. It will take you to my profile. And in my profile, you'll see these two red lights. Right below them is a link. I didn't click on that link yet today. So when you click on that link, it's going to take you to my landing page. The very top one is where you order the system. You guys, it has a 90-day money back guarantee. It has a quality guarantee. It has a low price guarantee. But if you're buying on Amazon, eBay, Walmart, you don't get any of those guarantees, and I'm going to guarantee you you're paying more money. And you don't get any coaching. So click on the link. That's going to take you to a page that will say, have my name up at the top, Michelle Fayon. That's how you know you're connected to me. That's how you know I'm going to contact you. I'm going to send you emails. I'm going to send you a video how to use it. You're going to text me. I'm going to text you. We're going to have conversation about how to get you healthy again. And then you just click on the buy now button. I dropped something. When you do that, what you're going to see is you're going to get 30 of the tea and 60 of the pre-meal drink, the balance. So a tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink before your first two biggest meals of the day. That's the system. Yes, they both come in the system. It's about $5 a day. And that's it. That's what's made my life turn around and get me off of 10 different medications and save me from having another joint replacement, because my joint actually has regenerated. Messages are coming up and my thing froze. Okay, I want to make sure I answered. Bye, Sarah. So I hope that answers it, you guys. $5 a day. When you get there, you're going to see a selection. You can either do a one-time purchase or you can do auto ship. But look, please do the subscription or the auto ship. It's going to save you $5 off of Super Greens. It's going to save you $5 off of your system, and then you're going to save the shipping. So now you've saved about $15 off the cost. I don't want it to cost you more than it needs to. And you get a free hand mixer to help with mixing up either the fiber or the drink. And then you get access to me, and we start working on your health. And if you have questions about when you're eating, what you're eating, your activity levels, any of that, I will help you where I can. There's so many questions that you just don't even understand now might come up, and I'm going to be there to help you through those. Okay, so there's that. And anybody have any other questions, just go to the link and let's get you start feeling better. I won't be live tomorrow morning because I'll be on a plane. I will try to go live if I can. If I have time on a layover or something, it'll be sporadic tomorrow, but I will be live again on Friday. So in the meantime, look for those videos coming out about the heart health. By the way, one of the last things I want to talk about, the protocol is just real food. It's gluten-free, it's kosher, it's halal. So it's not going to interfere with any type of eating that you feel like you need to do. It's not going to interfere with any medications you're on. In fact, I was on 10 different medications when I started, and then just one day said, what are you doing? And I threw away all the medications and haven't refilled a prescription in 2.5 years. And yet my health is better than it was in my 40s. So you guys, I appreciate you all hanging out with me. I am going to go get ready for this trip and get some more content done for you guys and answer some questions that are be coming through. We'll see you Friday morning, not tomorrow morning. All right? You guys have a great day. Bye, guys.